Mr. Speaker, at this time I yield 5 minutes to my friend and colleague, the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Holt.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, America begins the 5th year of war in Iraq. And I am pleased that Speaker Pelosi has scheduled such a thorough debate of the most important moral and political issue of the day. The war in Iraq was misguided from the outset, even illegal, and has been mismanaged consistently ever since. The resolution we have before us today puts Congress on record opposing the escalation of troops in Iraq proposed by President Bush and expressing our steadfast support for our troops. Let me say at the outset that I intend to vote for this resolution. It is an important first step. The President's escalation of forces in Iraq is worse than the stay-the-course strategy so clearly rejected by Americans. If we pass this resolution, we will be doing more than repudiating the President's disastrous policy. We will, for the first time, be putting Congress on record in a way that will allow us to bring this war to an end for Americans. Mr. Speaker, U.S. armed forces who are serving in Iraq are heroes. They are the most finely trained and dedicated group of patriots any leader could want. But they now find themselves mired in the middle of intense violence based on sectarian, political, social, and cultural factors dating back 1,000 years. The situation in Iraq cannot be solved militarily. Pretending otherwise only puts our soldiers, Marines, and others in greater danger. I have visited them in theater, in Iraq, in other countries in the region, and yes, at Walter Reed Hospital here in Washington. I have met with their families in New Jersey. The quality of these men and women, their earnest wish to serve their country, makes this situation all the more tragic. Mr. Speaker, they were sent to Iraq irresponsibly and in ignorance by leaders, sometimes improperly equipped, and are now asked to achieve an impossible mission. There is no way for us to resolve militarily the emerging, multifaceted civil war that is engulfing Iraq. When he ordered the invasion of Iraq, President Bush unleashed forces he did not understand and could not control. As the most recent national intelligence estimate attests, quote, the term civil war does not adequately capture the complexity of the conflict in Iraq, which includes extensive Shia-on-Shia violence and al-Qaeda and Sunni insurgent attacks on coalition forces and widespread criminally motivated violence, end quote. Whenever American forces leave Iraq, there will not be a stable American-style liberal democracy. Prolonging the occupation of Iraq, whose stability has only declined by any measure as our presence goes on, increases the costs we incur in lives, dollars, and international prestige. No one will look back and say, if only the American military stayed a little longer. No, historians will look back and ask, what took Congress so long to recognize a disaster and do something about it? Extricating American troops from this quagmire will dry up support for the various insurgencies operating in Iraq, encourage other nations to take part in the process of stabilizing the country, and promote the domestic processes necessary for long-term stability. Given all these factors, the burden should not be on those who believe that American forces should be withdrawn. The burden should be on those who want to continue this endeavor, to show any compelling evidence that it is worth sending more Americans to kill and to be killed. Sending more troops should require the same high standard of evidence that should have been met to go to war in the first place. But the President, and I'm sorry to say, the previous Congresses, did not apply that high standard. Some of us said 4 years ago that there was not evidence sufficiently compelling to send Americans to kill and to die. After the President went to war anyway, I called for withdrawal early. Now, Congress must establish standards that we failed to set. Standards of intelligence and evidence, standards of diplomacy, standards of legislative oversight, so that we do not go to war or escalate wars based on ideology rather than evidence, bravado rather than humility, patriotic fervor rather than patient diplomacy. Congress failed in its constitutional role to exert a check and balance on the executive. With this resolution, we begin on a new course under new legislative leadership. We will audit the books. We will review the procedures for detaining prisoners, for engaging civilians, for conducting intelligence. Mr. Speaker, it's time for President Bush to catch up with the American people. The American people understand that American forces should not remain in Iraq to try to quell a civil war they cannot control. The American people understand that we must refocus our attention on our real interests. If the President did not hear the people, let us show at least that we do and pass this resolution.
The lady from